please look back like Orpheus at this episode of Not Just Any Book Club bookends. Um, we we are covering for French Literature Month. We watched a French language film, Portrait of a Lady on Fire. My name is Pierce.
My name is Justin, and we're gonna butcher some names here because this movie is very
Mm-hmm.
French, very subtitled, and has a very big cult following. Um, and it's very, very erotic and romantic and everything that us guys, heterosexual males, are into. But
Yep, yep, yep.
yeah,
Very
this movie
slow burn
slow
romance.
burn, yeah. Um, the tension between these two are just very palpable. Um, Yeah, we'll get into the plot summary and everything, but quick thoughts at the beginning right now. Just like, what are your thoughts on Portrait of a Lady on Fire by Celine Sciamma? That's her name.
My immediate thoughts following the film were that I can't deny the talent that went into this movie, the great performances, the amazing cinematography. The film, for it really only took place on the island. It was beautiful, and the shots were varied, given what they had to work with from the small setting. So I can't deny that. But I just think slow burn romances might not be for me.
Same
Frankly,
here. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, I understand why someone would love this film because everybody seems to love
Hmm.
this film. This
Hmm.
film, it was released in 2019, just blew everyone away. It was on Letterboxd number one film top 250 list for however long. I
It,
over
it
The Godfather and
it's
Come and See.
it is technically a great film. It is technically, I would say, from the writing to the story to the deeper themes to the cinematography, a near perfect film. It is that good, but it's just
Yeah,
not for me. Like
yeah,
that's
yeah.
it.
Yeah, my opinion is almost exactly the same. It's just I guess this is how some people feel about Citizen Kane, I guess. I mean, we
Yeah.
both really enjoyed Citizen Kane. It's just we can appreciate its technicality, or the cinematography. It's a technical marvel. Even though it's
Hmm.
very subtle, slow burn film that does take risks, but not taking risks at all in the narrative by just like making this slow and quiet and methodical. And if you're the type of person that would love this film, it is just up your alley because again, this movie has basically a religion surrounding it.
Yeah.
It is
A
the
cult
movie that
following. Yeah.
yeah. Um, it's just it's sometimes when people hype up a movie to hell and back, it's just like you have really high expectations, and I
Hmm.
d- I've learned to keep my expectations tempered because hype nothing will kill a great movie than your own internal hype. La La Land for me. Sorry guys. It does dampen your enjoyment, and I thought it was good.
Yeah.
Maybe we can say this a million, but there was so much talk about this film, and I can perfectly see why this could be someone's favorite film, favorite French film, and probably even the movie that could define it could be like the epitome of French cinema, I guess, besides from like of Godard. It just like
I was gonna say this could very well be the best of its genre, and that's kind of how I've been thinking about it. Even though it's personally not for me, this genre of film might be just not for me, and that's okay. But I can acknowledge like how technically great the film is, the and if I watched another film in this genre, I would be willing to bet I probably would like that less than I enjoyed this one, even if it is still good also. Because this very well might be the best film in this like slow burn romance kind of genre.
exactly. But unfortunately, here there's a lot to discuss, and even though we are not the biggest fans of the movie, we will treat it with the respect and dignity it deserves because it deserves. You can write an essay on this film, just like
Hmm.
from every frame is almost a painting in this. Anyways, plot summary is it should be very simple. Um, what is it? Well, just feel free to add on to this. Um,
Uh-huh.
so this takes place at the end of the 18th century in France.
Yeah,
Um,
late 1700s.
yeah, so Marianne, she's a painter. She's teaching an art class, and then one of her students asks about just like what this painting is, and she calls it "Portrait of a Lady on Fire." That's the title drop. And then she is on a boat, and she goes to an island, and basically she is tasked with painting a portrait of a woman in secret because she does not want to be painted at all. And she doesn't want to be married. Her name's Heloise, by the way. Um, she's been living in a convent before the suicide of her older sister, and now she's being married off to her brother-in-law or something like that. Um, and basically in secret, and I've heard from people that are actual painters that this is an actual task, a really hard task to do, but to draw and paint from memory, like actual lifelike figures is very impressive. Because it's just like it's almost not possible to do. So very impressive. Um,
And they do. I really liked in the film that they kind of seemed to really acknowledge that, in that she's like taking all these different steps. Like she sits down in the place that she has kind of put this portrait where she's, you know, drawing from memory. Um, she sits down, puts the dress on, and is like positioning herself in that place in front of a mirror just so she can kind of get an immediate view of it. And I really loved that scene, and I thought it was like a really kind of showing just how difficult this task is that she's been
yeah, and I
presented
think
with.
it's also I mean, if she's wearing the dress, I think that's also her inserting herself into the art as well. Like she's actually becoming, in a way, just like becoming one with her. It's also again I reference this film a lot, even though again I don't personally enjoy it. Persona, it's about two women, they on an island, and that movie's more subjective than this one, but basically it's just playing up the fact that they're in isolation and there's some tension that they cannot explicitly state with each other, especially at the time. It's just like it all had to be implied. Um, so I think that was just a very neat way of doing that. It's like basically showing that she's becoming the embodiment of what she's doing. Anyways, basically, Marianne eventually finishes the portrait, but she's unable to she basically just admits to Eloise that like why she's actually there. And after Eloise sees it, I thought the painting looked fine, but she was like, no, it's disgusting. Get that away from me. And Marianne just destroys the work. Maybe I'm
Yeah.
exaggerating there a bit, but like yeah,
It
she
it
destroys it.
Yeah, there's a clear acknowledgement of like, but from Marianne and the mother, that the painting looks good, but Marianne is clearly uncomfortable with it, and then Heloise hates it because of kind of what it stands for, is what I took from that. But then I think that her outburst kind of leads Marianne to think about why she doesn't like it. In that she they kind of bring it up later when they're looking at the second portrait that was painted, where it's like I put more of you actually in it. Like it wasn't like the thing that I was supposed to do of you. It's actually you in the painting,
Yeah.
which she makes the second one.
Yeah. And as soon as she's about to be fired by the Countess, Eloise is like, no, no, here I am. I'm gonna pose for her. Which, I think this is her saying, hey, please stay on this island, because I think that's kind of the start of her almost implicitly admitting her attraction to her. And I feel like, that's gonna be a common theme throughout the movie. There's a lot of not cat and mouse, but just like toying with the idea of like, does she like me? Does she not? Is she a friend of Ellen's? Is she not? Um, yeah,
There's definitely an attraction from very early on in the movie.
yeah,
I remember the fixation on how Heloise like sits with her hands like crossed, how she like holds the wrist with one hand of her
hmm
other arm. I thought that was kind of an interesting. I mean, I know she's supposed to be like paying attention to those details, but to me, it felt like there was something more to that. Like she
yeah,
not just noticed it, but thought it was cute or something like that.
yeah, yeah. So after this, the Countess leaves, but she gives Marianne 5 more days to do it, and basically, Heloise becomes essentially a ghost. She's just like throughout the house that she's staying at. She's like Heloise is dressed in all in white, basically a very ethereal. Um, she sees her and then she's gone in the next shot. Basically trying to play up the fact that she's just otherworldly and she's basically just a ghost. That's especially not the case because of I want to say that it's a lot like the movie Vertigo. I it's like they play up the fact that she is a ghost. You really don't know much about her. It kind of shoots it from a very subjective point of view, so you only know what the main character knows. Um, so it's essentially like that, kind of obfuscating the details, which I thought was kind of a neat trick to do. Um, but essentially, that barrier starts getting broken down, once because like one evening they start reading the myth, the very very important myth here. I think this is kind of central, and the movie kind of banks on the fact that you kind of know this myth already. Orpheus and Eurydice. The debate true reason. Well, kind of summing up or doing a summary within a summary. Basically, Orpheus, he's the greatest musician of all time according to this legend, and Eurydice gets taken by Hades, and Orpheus ventures down to the underworld and basically just starts pleading with Hades, "Please take her back. No, 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 not please take her back. Can I please have her back in the overworld?" And after Orpheus plays a song, Hades is convinced. So
Can
Orpheus
I
and
please have
Eurydice.
her back in Minecraft? Please.
Yeah,
Take her out of the nether right now.
exactly that. And basically, Hades allows us on on the fact that Hades that Orpheus does not look back. And he does, and I know there are different ways of telling the story, but I think essentially, for whatever reason, he looks back, and because of this, Eurydice is never able. She gets sent back to the underworld for all eternity, and for half and I'm going a little bit off tangent here, but for half of the year, it is all cold and not good for the world because that's Eurydice in the underworld, and then it's all
Nope.
oh
This is you're talking about the Persephone's myth. Persephone gets trapped because she eats the pomegranates, and
oh my
the
god.
world is cold for half the year because Demeter is sad because her daughter's in the underworld.
Look at this
Demeter, the
fact check.
goddess of harvest.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm just combining myths together, but I
Yes.
do
Yeah.
know this one. Oh,
Yeah. No.
continue.
The Orpheus and Eurydice one. I think it pretty much ends with her being sent back to the underworld.
Yeah. I know that
Um.
there's a bit of continuation with Orpheus.
Yeah.
Eventually just swearing off all women. He never plays again.
Hmm.
And some people say
It's the
that was the
sorry.
return of
It's the end.
homosexuality
Some say he turned to homosexuality. Is that what you said?
because like he swore off all women because of the line "I
Oh.
never love
Okay.
again."
That's interesting. I actually didn't know that part of the Orpheus myth. It's interesting because we'll get to it, I guess, because it's pretty overt. The like, yes, it's central to the story and its themes, but the ending is pretty overtly like running parallel to the ending of the Orpheus and
Yeah.
Eurydice
Or now the
story.
epilogue that you never knew about.
Yeah, the epilogue that I did not know about. I haven't read that.
Yeah. Okay. So we took a giant detour, but basically they start debating why would Orpheus turn around, and I think it's Heloise that says something about like it's like cementing the memory rather than what could actually be or what actually will be in the overworld or our world or Earth, whatever it is. He'd rather have the memory and marry the memory rather than like have that image of her shattered. It's like the poet's way of preserving or keeping her alive. I think are the exact
Mhm.
words of how they say it. And then I think after this they have a bonfire. I think this is like one of the few uses of music in the entire film. It's just like they have a bunch of women just like in a bonfire. They're all celebrating. I think this is also kind of playing the fact that like they're quote unquote practicing witchcraft. Like as in they're women in a convent and they're all singing and chanting. It sounds again. otherworldly because you have not heard music at all in this movie up until this point. Which, yeah, this scene was very exciting, engaging, and really cool. I think this is also where they meet Sophie. Was that the 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 servant, right? I
I
think.
thought they met. She met her like right at the beginning of the movie.
Oh wait, no,
Pretty
okay.
sure.
So after this, Sophie becomes a very important player, because I think after this, after the bonfire, Marianne and Heloise, through the most interesting kissing scene, they both have their masks on and they're all on a beach,
Hmm.
and they basically, um, you've been feeling this tension throughout this entire movie. They start going at it through their
And
masks.
it tears through a bunch of scenes at this point, right? Of them like together,
Yeah.
or is that a little bit later? Is that
Well,
this is that moment?
this is like the midpoint where they actually do accept the fact that they are
Hmm.
attracted and they are a couple and everything. Um, and actually, so it now just shows them living life and living through the relationship because yeah, through the probably a very long sequence, it just shows them relaxing, enjoying fornicating and copious amounts of that. Um, yeah, and then their relationship grows stronger, and they help their servant Sophie, who was their servant, and actually, um, this is one of the I think one of the themes of like the late 2010s or even 2019 with Parasite was the theme of class because with Sophie, they're basically they're basically just enjoying their company, and Sophie, there's a scene of them eating breakfast together, and Sophie is eating while Heloise and Marianne are all cooking breakfast, and they're basically just serving it to her. So it's kind of inverting that. It's a very subtle commentary on the fact that like they're crossing the class barriers. So that they're all equal on this little place. So yeah, and then after this, Sophie has an unwanted child, and yeah, she's a housemaid that gets pregnant, and she wants to get an abortion. I think this is because of an affair that she had or something like that, and she does not to have the child, so they go to forgot where, like a place, like a little secret place to have their abortion, um and she has the abortion, and I feel like that's all also a commentary. We don't have to get into the weeds about the politics about this, but I feel like
Hmm.
that scene, they treat it very natural, because during that scene there's a baby while the abortion scene is happening, and Sophie is smiling and playing with the baby while the abortion's happening. So I'm assuming that that's kind of the director saying, um, it she doesn't hate babies. It's not anti-baby, or she still appreciates life and what it could be. She just doesn't want to have this child at this time, which I think that's what that attunes to what the politics of the film, basically just saying, you could celebrate life in different ways at different moments. Um, so after this, um, Marianne, I think, finally, oh, well, actually, also in the memorable scene, Marianne now completes a portrait, a sketch of Heloise, on page 28 of a book, a very nude portrait, in her birthday suit. She draws her like one of her French girls. Mm,
Ah.
yeah, yeah. And essentially it's just like a very romantic scene, and I don't know if that was actually her drawing it, but like it was a pretty good drawing. It is a very tasteful scene
Mhm.
as well. It wasn't gratuitous or overtly sexual. It was just like just two women that are in love, that are just enjoying each other's company. So after that happens, they are just they the countess approves of the portrait that now Marion
Mhm.
has finished, and they
I thought
they
this part. I thought this part leading up to the ending was very interesting because like this whole thing was very, again, very slow burn for a lot of it, and then it felt like we kind of like rushed to the end. Like it started ending, and then it kind of like I remember the scene where Marianne goes downstairs and they knew that the mother was arriving that day, and she goes downstairs and she sees like the guy who the guy from the boat.
yeah, a
um
patriarchal jump scare. It's like, oh,
yeah.
there's no
A man.
a man.
um which, yeah, it's I thought it was really interesting how quickly it all kind of comes to a close after
I think that
that
was kind of
point.
the intent. It was supposed to be very abrupt, like they're enjoying life,
Hmm.
and then all of a sudden, oh man! And the fact that this relationship has to just like start wrapping up because it can't continue
Yeah,
because Heloise is about to be married to a man that she does not
they
love.
can't even right, and they can't even continue it while the mother is there. So it's pretty much over the second that
Yeah,
that um that she
yeah.
gets to the island.
The way they say goodbye is through an embrace. But I think the very important part is the fact that, like, Sophie's returning back to her housemaid role. Now she returns back to her role, and before Heloise and Marianne awkwardly embrace and then just leave, trying to show that this is all formal. Um, as Marianne is about to leave, Heloise appears one more time, and Marianne turns around, and Heloise is dressed in all white, looking like a ghostly form, and then smashes the black.
Yeah.
Essentially, kind of not killing her, but again, that's kind of her way of saying goodbye. It's to mirror the Orpheus and Eurydice story. Um,
Well, mirror it, but also I think an important detail is Mariana's breaking down, and so she's kind of like running out. She's
mhm,
trying to get away before she like starts crying, basically. And when she opens the door, Heloise comes down the stairs and she says turn around,
mhm,
um, which is I think important not just for the way that it breaks from the Orpheus and Eurydice story, but also important because of what you said, Heloise's idea of why Orpheus turned around. Heloise wants the her lover, the artist, to hold the memory of
mhm,
Heloise because she's essentially dying as we know her from the film. She's going to go have to become someone else, a housewife,
mhm.
essentially. And she's not going to be the same.
Yeah. And smashes the black, and then now we're at present day. I think it cuts back to the art class, so there was a really long flashback. Um, so yeah, and then it cuts a little bit forward into like the quote unquote present day. Marianne says that she saw her Heloise two more times. The first was a form of the portrait at an art exhibition, and then she sees Heloise with a child beside her, holding a book that is holding the like bookmarked at page 28. And then the second time that she sees her, and this is the ending, this is the powerful ending that everyone sees, is that they're at a concert, and this is the second time we hear music. It's very loud, very bombastic, and I don't remember the tone, but I think it was kind of like uplifting. I want to say not
It
like
was Vivaldi's Summer from his Four Seasons.
we can't
So
play that
it's
here because
it's
copyright.
it is. I mean, go listen to it. It's a really good classical piece. It is fairly uplifting, I would say.
Yeah,
Um, um,
but here's the
I
ambiguous
would,
ending.
yeah, I would have to listen to it again to
Yeah.
to really. But yeah, I loved the ending, and again, I think we kind of skipped over the art exhibition a little bit.
Oh yeah.
I wanted to mention somebody looks at a painting that Marianne uh, painted, and they're like, it's a painting of Orpheus and Eurydice, and it's the scene where Orpheus turns around. And he's like, it's usually, I forget exactly what he says, but he basically says something along the lines of, it's like, oh, usually it's like a bad scene, like it's like kind of sorrowful, like it's not
Mhm.
the way that it's supposed to go down, but this seems almost uplifting, like. And she seems very happy that someone was able to see that not only into her and her old relationship, also what she intended. Like it's, I thought that was I don't know, I don't know why that
Yeah, no,
stuck out to me so much.
I think it's like her somehow someone recognizing the meaning in her art.
Yeah.
It has two
Hmm.
layers. One, just like, again, someone has sees her artistic intention, and two, I guess that's her kind of like reminding herself, oh, Heloise
Yeah.
is not entirely gone, and now it's an uplifting
And
way to looking back.
yeah, and the way she changes how that scene is typically portrayed in art. kind of feeds again back into what you said Heloise says at the bonfire, or before the bonfire, when they're talking about the story.
Okay. Yeah. That.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where she's like the poet keeps the memory of them in their mind, and it's a happier memory or whatever. Whatever
Yeah.
you said.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like it preserves the good memory and not the bad.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think the actual ending, which again, I mean, it's supposed to be ambiguous, but we kind of know what's happening. She's crying, and that's why I was like kind of hinting at it's like it's uplift. Is it uplifting? Because I don't think it provoked those emotions in me when I was listening. No, as in like if you were supposed to listen to that song, that's
Right.
so
Well,
you
you know
don't
what
cry
this.
like that.
You remember what the significance of the song is, right? That specific song.
I don't remember. I the
She
second.
Marianne plays that
Yes,
song for her on I think it's a harpsichord. She's playing it
harpsichord.
on harp. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Because it didn't sound. It was like a piano like instrument.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah. And so she was playing that for her, and she couldn't remember. The other funny thing that I noticed is that I'm like 95% sure I've heard that rendition of Vivaldi's Summer at the end of like video essays on YouTube. Which
Uh,
in like this super sad scene, it was kind of funny. I'm not gonna lie, that I thought I recognized that exact recording of of uh,
it's
of
like a
Vivaldi's
sentimental
Summer.
Minecraft nostalgia YouTube
Yeah,
video.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. But and that so concludes our plot summary of it.
hmm
We can
We got a little bit into the details, but
yeah. Um, again, I think one of I guess one of my big criticisms about the movie, well, personal critiques, I guess, is the fact that like
mhm.
it is a very slow burn, and I think this depends on how engaged you are going to be in the movie because there are a lot of filler scenes, like again, especially in the second half. Um, I'm guessing a lot of people would enjoy it, like as in like if you're very invested in these characters and invested in this relationship, you will be like, them playing solitaire. That's a great scene. It's just like they're just
Yeah,
chilling, and this is how couples are supposed to act, and it's supposed to build that up. But if you're not engaged in that scene, it's just like, oh, what was the point of that? Um, I mean,
yeah.
I get it. Again, it's like the movie The Master or There Will Be Blood or Spirited Away or 2001: A Space Odyssey, where it's like there's a lot of like small filler scenes that are just like of silence or really that I don't think they could be excised from the film without really ruining the pacing. But it's just
I
like
didn't know where you were going
ridiculous.
with that because none of those movies are slow burns. Like, there will
There
be
will be
blood a
blood.
little bit. A little bit. It's not as slow as this one. It's like
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know. I felt so. This is not the video for this. I felt so engaged by There Will Be Blood. Anyways,
yeah.
like the whole time, I was like, "Let's go." Um, Side
Complete
note.
opposite of this movie.
Sorry, you brought it up,
Yeah.
I saw it. I saw it like 2 months ago, and it rocketed up to like one of my favorite films. So,
Yeah. Um, but I don't know if you Spirited Away is probably another example. It's just like there's small
mhm.
scenes where it's just like you're enjoying a moment with the characters and it could be removed. Like I am guessing the Spirited Away scene where it's like Ichiro is just on the train and it's just there for like a solid 2 minutes, and it could be removed. But why do that? It's just there to enjoy the moment and breathe in the world that they have. Like in this fantasy island with just basically no men, and there's a bunch of women that are able to live their
Yeah,
life. So I mean, if people enjoy that's them. But like I don't know, they walk so slowly in this movie, so slowly, and
yeah. I will say, like, I never. I think there were very few times in the movie where I didn't like I lost my attention. Like it's a really I did enjoy the film, and it's a great film. It's just really slow for my taste, and I'm not like if I watch a romance centered film, there's got to be kind of something else there for me,
like
and
a
they're
subplot, I guess.
really yeah, there wasn't really. I didn't feel like in this movie. Um, yeah, that I think for me that's kind of the thing is that I kind of need something else with my romance plot wise, and
Yeah,
this didn't
you need
really
the
have
side
anything
dish.
for that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But you know, again, near perfect film technically. It's just yeah. We're gonna say
Um.
it's not for me a million different ways.
Yeah. But like, let's continue praising the film. Like I said before, I
Yeah.
alluded to this. The class, the critique on class. I
Hmm.
think it's also just a critique on just like power dynamics in general. Not even the patriarchal sort, but like Marianne and Eloise almost become equals. Oh, they are equals by the end of it. Oh, well, not by the end of
Yeah.
it. Before the end of the romance.
There's very clearly like between the three of them, the three
Sophie,
women who
Eloise,
are
and Mary. Yeah.
Sophie, Eloise, Marianne. Um, there's very clearly like they're of three different classes. So the fact that they are all equal. There's even a scene right after I think it's right after they find out that Sophie is pregnant, where they're kind of like just playing around on the beach. They were like passing
Mhm.
her back and forth. I didn't really get the. I thought that it was weird following that scene specifically. They were trying
Yeah.
to make her have an abortion. Oh, okay. They were trying to force it. I thought that they were like, okay,
I don't think they're forcing it. It was just more. I don't know if it was like a circumstance of the time, but I just understand that the fact that like she didn't feel comfortable bringing a child into this world at this moment. Again, with the baby being there was just her saying, with the baby, the alive baby that was
yeah,
there, was her saying, this commentary is like this is not an extermination of life. It's just it's not at the
yeah.
time.
Emma said that they were trying to get to help her pass it naturally, which is yeah,
Oh.
that's possible. Um, but because I also had kind of that thought in the moment, but I did not follow it because it sounded like in their conversation right beforehand, she was like, "I'll get it handled in a couple of days" or something.
Mm-hmm.
So he was basically like, "I'll get it figured out. Don't worry about it."
Don't worry.
Um,
Right offhand.
from what I remember, it's been a minute since I watched this movie, and it's also been a minute for you. But yeah,
Multiple
I
hours.
thought regardless, the point that I was trying to make was that um, they clearly come from three different social classes,
Mm-hmm.
and they are all just kind of hanging out together.
Yeah.
Sophie's third wheeling out there on the
Well,
beach.
well, yeah. Well, it wasn't like
no,
she was gonna be in Orange
no,
Factory.
yeah, I'm joking,
Yeah.
but yeah.
um. Yeah. I think we got everything out of here. Oh, we could talk about like the visuals as well because the cinematography. It's great. All these wide shots, really framing the island, and like the color palette as well. It's so lots of blues and greens, and like
Yeah.
the costuming, excellent stuff. Like yeah, I usually don't take notice of that, but when I notice a costume looks great, costume, an outfit, they're fit.
Mhm.
If their fit looks on fleek, it gets points from me.
Every time there was a fire in the movie, it was like engrossing. Like it was every time there was a fire, I not only did I take notice of it, but it like drew my attention because it was
Hmm.
like so the bonfire was so grand, and the fires that they were like cooking in always felt so like warm and nice. Like I couldn't feel it, but it was beautiful and extremely
Yeah,
well done for to make me like see exactly how a fire is supposed to be making me
hmm,
feel just from visual stimuli. It was really good.
yeah. I don't know if that was in filmed in natural light. I don't know if you'll be able to tell. Because the movie Barry Lyndon was filmed all in natural light, and I don't think there was a
Hmm.
night scene in that movie. But it kind of reminded me of that. Not even because of the antiquated time period, but the fact that it used a lot of natural light from what I can tell. And the fact that it looks stunning every single frame of painting, um, et cetera, et cetera. It's just it's a great looking film to look at. And I feel like did it get nominated for cinematography awards? Because I feel like it should have. Um,
I'm sure it did somewhere. However, I
that Golden
know
Globe award.
I know it did not win. We were talking about this before. It did not win the best like foreign language film or whatever they're calling it. They keep changing the name at the Oscars because France only picked one movie and they did not pick this movie for some reason.
Mm, Well, that was the common French L.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe you said it was on a short list though. I was gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and say maybe
They
they
made an
weren't able
accident.
to for some reason, but you said it was on the short list, so it sounds like maybe they were able to.
Yeah. Can't even name the two other films. I wonder why. Um, yeah, I'll
Yeah.
also say that the cinematography, a lot of it I would like to think that because the director, she d- I Celine, she dated the actress who played Heloise. Um,
Hmm.
so and I think they're on amicable terms. So basically, I think it was her objective to try to make her look as great as possible in the movie because like she's filmed almost immaculately. She has all the best outfits and everything. Um, the camera focuses a lot on like Heloise's features and like are almost her like basically just everything, and we get to see a lot of her, don't we? So she's filmed in the best light. I think there's still a little bit of attraction from the director to her. So I'm guessing that's why Heloise is almost like at the center frame of almost every shot um of the movie. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I just looked this up because from the very first time that I heard her name in the movie, I was actually thinking, because Eloise is kind of, I believe it's already a French name, and so Heloise, I was like, that just makes it sound more Hellenic. That was my immediate thought, which maybe was intentional, but I did just look up Heloise just to see if it was also a French name,
Hmm.
and it looks like it is. It looks like she may have been named after a female philosopher, a female scholar from the medieval period, who was the first medieval female to critically discuss feminist issues such as
Oh,
marriage and motherhood.
that probably seems.
That was almost certainly intentional. I
Yeah.
believe.
Oh,
Um,
see, my Greek oriented mind apparently is just like Helen of Troy. Sure.
I also kind of because I thought of that. I was like maybe I was trying to
Maybe
piece it
not.
together. I think that
I think that your
the
interpret
philosopher
that yeah, that's probably
the
more.
philosopher was intentional. Also possibly it does sound a little Hellenic to my ear,
Hmm.
but I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
Hellenic.
Hellenic.
That's a word.
Well,
Hellenic. Anyways,
um, yeah, I think I've said everything I wanted to say. I think this movie is just one of those. I really wish that like this was my movie, and this would probably feel the same. It's like
yeah,
there's everything there.
yeah,
It's just like it falls perfectly into place. I feel like this is definitely a director's vision, and I think this is probably her passion project. And I know why this movie is just touted as the LGBT film. Probably aside from, well, yeah. I mean, it does follow a bit into the Barry gaze trope, but like before that, you see this romance blossom, and I think
but
even the
but
ending isn't just
Justin,
yeah. She doesn't
what
die.
about Brokeback Mountain? What
I
about?
haven't seen it, but I'm pretty sure
I haven't seen it
they die.
either.
I think they die at the end.
Oh,
Is that
do
a
they?
spoiler?
I don't know.
They probably do.
Spoilers.
Maybe.
Um, regardless, I Brokeback always kind of seemed like the gay movie that introduced straight people to gay movies. That's kind of what it always seemed like in popular culture to me. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe gay people like that movie. I don't know.
Uh, yeah. I mean, Call Me by Your Name as well, possibly.
Yeah, but some people think that that's problematic because of the age gap, right? Isn't that a
Yeah.
thing?
Or really Army Hammer or Arnie Hammer. Probably spoiler
Hmm.
alert, he probably eats Timothy Chalamet at the end. Not where he got it. There are
I just
allegations of him
watched.
cannibalism.
Oh my god! I just watched beautiful boy with Timothy Chalamet,
Oh,
and
was
it
that the
was just
heroin
like,
movie?
yeah, it's the one where he's like a drug addict. It was pretty good, but the score was like so bad, ruined the movie. Anyways, we're getting off topic.
Yeah.
We're getting off topic. Yeah. So no, yeah, this is a, like I said, very. It might very well be technically a perfect or near perfect film. If it's not perfect, it's near perfect. But you know, it's just gonna. Do you like romance? Do you like slow burn films? If you like both of those things, this movie is, you'll love it. It's amazing. But for me, it was just good to great, somewhere in that
Yeah.
range. Because it's just not for me.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's perfectly fine because if we have to,
Yep.
because I think if if your favorite films all consist of classics, you don't sprinkle in a guilty pleasure around there, then your film taste is kind of boring. You gotta have a
Mhm.
variety.
And if you like all the classics, if you like love every classic movie, that's also kind of boring. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you have to have one or two unpopular opinions.
Exactly. Our unpopular opinion is that we didn't enjoy a movie as much as other people. we we liked a movie, just not as much.
Not as much, but
Yep.
wait until you see our take on the next movie we watch.
I'm actually really excited to see
Yeah,
that
so am
one.
I.
It
Like
is
yeah.
a certain Russian film. We'll announce it next week
Yeah.
on Not Just Any Book Club, where we discuss French literature.
But for now, I think we should
But
wrap
for
it up because
now,
I think you should join us
yeah,
next week when we actually talk
for
about
French
French
literature.
literature. Yeah.
Yep.
Um,
Um, Other than that, you can follow us on Twitter and TikTok. We kind of have to pick TikTok back up at Not Just Any Pod. Please give us a like, rating, subscribe, follow us, whatever it is on whatever platform.
oh yeah,
We really
subscribe
do
on YouTube
appreciate it.
as well.
Yes. Yep. On our YouTube channel or on podcasting platform. And yeah, I think that about does it.
Au revoir, Prometheus.
Au revoir.
Is that how
Okay.